What if I told you that within every adult there lurks a child who refuses to grow up? Not just any child, but an eternal one. Forever young, forever dreaming, forever avoiding the responsibilities that come with maturity. This is the story of the Puer Aeternus, the eternal boy. And today, we're diving deep into why some people seem stuck in perpetual adolescence, while others harness their inner child to achieve greatness. By the end of this video, you might discover something unsettling. This eternal child lives within you too. The question is, are you letting it inspire you, or is it holding you back from becoming who you're meant to be? Let me start with a story that might sound familiar. Meet James, a 35-year-old with the mind of a genius and the lifestyle of a college student. He wakes up at noon, spends his afternoons dreaming up brilliant business ideas, and his evenings debating philosophy with friends. He's charming, creative, and everyone agrees he has incredible potential. There's just one problem. He's never actually started any of those businesses. He's never held a job for more than 6 months. And while his friends are buying homes and raising families, James is still living like he's waiting for his real life to begin. James is what Carl Jung called a Puer Aeternus, Latin for eternal boy. This isn't just about immaturity or laziness. It's about a fundamental psychological pattern that can either doom us to a life of unfulfilled potential or, if properly understood, unlock extraordinary creative powers. The term first appeared in ancient Roman literature, describing divine youth gods who represented eternal vitality and rebirth. But Jung saw something deeper, a universal archetype that exists in every human psyche. Like all archetypes, the Puer has two faces, one that inspires and creates, and another that destroys and stagnates. How do you know if the Puer Aeternus is running your life? Here are the telltale signs. First, there's what Jung called the provisional life. Everything feels temporary. Your job isn't your real career. It's just something to pay the bills until your true calling appears. Your apartment isn't your home. It's just a place to crash until you can afford your dream house. Your relationships aren't quite right. You're waiting for that perfect soulmate who will finally understand you. Second, there's the addiction to potential over reality. The Puer lives in a world of what could be rather than what is. They're brilliant at starting projects but terrible at finishing them. They have notebooks full of ideas but empty portfolios of completed work. Third, there's the fear of commitment that masquerades as a love of freedom. The Puer tells themselves they're keeping their options open, but really, they're terrified of being trapped. Every choice feels like a prison sentence because choosing one path means giving up infinite others. As one of Jung's colleagues put it, such people usually have great difficulty in finding a job, for whatever they find is never quite right. There is always a but which prevents marriage or any kind of commitment. But here's where it gets interesting, and maybe a little uncomfortable. The Puer Aeternus often develops as a response to what Jung called the mother complex. This doesn't necessarily mean having an overbearing mother, though it can. It's about any situation where a person remains psychologically dependent on a nurturing, protective force, whether that's an actual parent, a trust fund, or even society's safety nets. Think about it. When a child stays too long in the nest, they never develop the psychological muscles needed to face life's challenges. They remain in what psychologists call the paradise of childhood. That magical time when all possibilities are open and no permanent choices have to be made. The problem? Life eventually forces us to choose. And for the Puer who hasn't developed these muscles, every choice feels like a death, the death of infinite possibility. This is where Jung's insight becomes particularly valuable. He recognized that every archetype has both positive and negative expressions. The same Puer energy that keeps someone stuck in their parents' basement can also fuel extraordinary creativity and innovation. Think about history's great innovators and artists. Many displayed classic Puer traits, Steve Jobs with his reality distortion field and refusal to accept limitations. Mozart with his childlike spontaneity and rebellion against convention. Even Einstein, who famously said, "To punish me for my contempt for authority, fate made me an authority myself." The difference? These individuals found ways to channel their Puer energy into creative work while still engaging with reality. They maintained their childlike wonder without remaining childish. So how does one break free from the negative Puer pattern? Jung's prescription was simple but brutal: work. Not just any work, but committed, sustained effort toward a concrete goal. For the poor, this feels like death. It means choosing one path and closing off others. It means facing the possibility of failure. It means accepting limitations. But here's the paradox. Only by accepting limitations do we gain true freedom. Only by choosing one path do we actually go anywhere. Only by risking failure do we open the possibility of success. As Jung put it, if you always do the next thing that needs to be done, you will go most safely and sure-footedly along the path prescribed by your unconscious. This brings us to the senex, the old man archetype that represents everything the Puer fears: discipline, responsibility, limitation, structure. But here's the key insight. The Puer and senex aren't opposites to be chosen between. They're dance partners that need each other. The senex without the Puer becomes rigid, cynical, and creatively dead. The Puer without the senex remains ungrounded, ineffective, and ultimately unfulfilled. Psychological maturity isn't about killing the Puer, it's about marrying it to the senex. Think of it this way. The Puer provides the vision, the senex provides the discipline to realize it. The Puer dreams, the senex builds. The Puer imagines, the senex implements. One of the most insidious Puer patterns is what Jung called the provisional life, living as if your real life hasn't started yet. Everything is temporary, a placeholder for something better that's always just around the corner. The antidote? Start treating your current life as real. That temporary job? Approach it as if it matters. That starter apartment? Make it truly yours. That casual relationship? Either commit to it or end it honestly. The provisional life is seductive because it protects us from failure. If nothing is real, nothing can really hurt us. But this protection comes at a terrible cost. If nothing is real, nothing can truly satisfy us either. Joseph Campbell identified a universal pattern in human stories: the hero's journey. The hero receives a call to adventure, initially refuses it, eventually accepts, faces trials, dies symbolically, and is reborn, transformed. The Puer is stuck in the refusal stage. They hear the call, but won't answer it. They see the dragon, but won't fight it. They know the treasure exists, but won't risk the journey to claim it. Why? Because the hero's journey requires a kind of death, the death of who we were to become who we must be. For the Puer, this feels like the ultimate betrayal of their eternal youth. Traditional societies had initiation rituals that formally transitioned young people from childhood to adulthood. These weren't just ceremonies, they were psychological technologies that facilitated the death of the child self and the birth of the adult self. We've lost these rituals, and the result is a culture full of uninitiated adults. Without formal rites of passage, many create their own, often through crisis, addiction, or other forms of suffering that force the psychological transformation that ritual once provided. The challenge for modern Puers is to consciously create their own initiation. This might mean taking on a difficult project, committing to a relationship, or facing a fear that's been avoided for years. One of the Puer's core wounds is the belief in their own specialness. They're convinced they're destined for greatness, but this very belief prevents them from doing the ordinary work required to achieve anything great. This specialness is actually a defense mechanism. If you're special, you don't have to compete with ordinary people. If you're destined for greatness, you don't have to risk ordinary failure. If you're waiting for your real life to begin, you don't have to fully engage with the life you have. The cure? Embracing ordinariness, accepting that even special people have to do ordinary work. Understanding that greatness is built on a foundation of consistent, unglamorous effort. In mythology, the greatest treasures are always guarded by dragons. For the Puer, the dragon might be commitment, responsibility, or the simple discipline of daily work. The treasure is authentic selfhood, genuine achievement, and the satisfaction of realized potential. Here's the truth that the Puer must face. You can't get the gold without facing the dragon. You can't have the treasure of maturity without the trial of growing up. You can't experience the joy of creation without the discipline of craft. The dragon isn't the enemy, it's the guardian of exactly what you need. Your fear shows you where your power lies. Your resistance reveals where your growth waits. There's a crucial difference between fantasy and imagination that the Puer must learn. Fantasy is passive. It's daydreaming about success without taking action. Imagination is active. It's envisioning possibilities and then working to realize them. The Puer excels at fantasy but struggles with imagination. They can dream of being a great artist but can't imagine sitting down to practice every day. They can fantasize about ideal love but can't imagine working through relationship challenges. The shift from fantasy to imagination is the shift from Puer to integrated adult. It's the difference between dreaming of writing a novel and actually writing page by page, day by day. Here's one of life's great paradoxes. Limitation creates freedom. The Puer fears limitation because it seems to close off possibilities. But without limitation, nothing can take form. Without boundaries, nothing can be built. Think of a river. Without banks, it's not a river, it's a flood. The banks don't imprison the water, they give it direction and power. Similarly, life's limitations don't imprison us, they give our energy direction and force. The mature individual understands that choosing one path doesn't eliminate all others. It opens up new possibilities that were invisible before. Every commitment creates new freedoms within its framework. The goal isn't to kill the Puer, but to integrate it. The eternal child, properly integrated, becomes a source of renewable energy, creativity, and joy. It keeps us young at heart without keeping us immature. Integration means maintaining the Puer's gifts, spontaneity, wonder, playfulness, while developing the Senex's virtues. Discipline, responsibility, commitment. It's about being childlike without being childish. Artists like William Blake exemplified this integration. He maintained a child's capacity for wonder while developing the discipline to create enduring works of art. He saw infinity in a grain of sand because he had both the Puer's vision and the Senex's patience to look closely. Jung prescribed work as medicine for the Puer, but not just any work. The work must be meaningful enough to engage the Puer's imagination while concrete enough to satisfy the Senex's need for tangible results. This is why creative work often serves as the bridge between Puer and Senex. It requires both inspiration and discipline, both vision and craft. The artist must dream like a Puer and work like a Senex. The key is finding work that aligns with your nature while still demanding growth. As Jung advised, if you always do the next thing that needs to be done, you will go most safely and sure-footedly along the path prescribed by your unconscious. Many Puers only change when crisis forces them to. The provisional life collapses. The fantasy bubble bursts. The safety net tears. This crisis, though painful, is often exactly what's needed. Crisis strips away our illusions and forces us to confront reality. For the Puer, it can be the initiation that society no longer provides. It's the dragon that can no longer be avoided, the call that can no longer be refused. If you're facing such a crisis, remember, this is your opportunity. This is your chance to stop waiting for life to begin and start living the life you have. So how do you begin integrating the Puer? Here are practical steps. Choose one project and see it through to completion, no matter how imperfect the result. Make one aspect of your provisional life permanent. Commit to your current job, relationship, or living situation as if it were your final choice. Establish a daily routine that includes both creative play and disciplined work. Face one fear that's been keeping you in suspended animation. Find a mentor who embodies the healthy integration of Puer and Senex qualities. Remember, integration is a process, not an event. It happens gradually through countless small choices to engage with reality rather than escape into fantasy. The relationship between Puer and Senex is not a problem to be solved, but a tension to be maintained. Like the tension in a bow that allows the arrow to fly, this psychological tension generates the energy for growth and creation. The goal is not to become all Senex. That leads to rigidity and death. Nor is it to remain all Puer. That leads to chaos and stagnation. The goal is to dance between these polarities, letting each inform and balance the other. This dance is the essence of psychological maturity. It's what allows us to maintain our wonder while accepting reality, to dream while we build, to play while we work. As we close, I want to leave you with a question. What would your life look like if you fully integrated your eternal child? Imagine maintaining your capacity for wonder while developing the discipline to create. Imagine keeping your dreams alive while building the skills to realize them. Imagine saying yes to life's adventures while accepting its responsibilities. This integration is not only possible, it's necessary for a fully lived life. The eternal child within you is not your enemy, but your ally, not your weakness, but your strength. The question is not whether to grow up or stay young, but how to do both. The choice is yours. Will you remain in the provisional life, forever waiting for your real life to begin? Or will you step into the arena, face your dragons, and claim the gold that waits on the other side? Remember, the eternal child doesn't die when we mature. It transforms. It becomes the divine child, the source of our creativity, joy, and capacity for renewal. Your task is not to kill it, but to raise it, not to abandon it, but to integrate it. The journey from poor to integrated adult is the hero's journey we all must take. It's challenging, sometimes painful, but ultimately liberating. It's the path from potential to actualization, from dreams to reality, from who we might be to who we are. So I ask you, are you ready to answer the call? Are you ready to leave the provisional life behind and step into your real story? The eternal child within you has been waiting. Perhaps it's time to take its hand and, together, step into the life that's been waiting for you all along. The choice is yours. The time is now. The adventure begins the moment you say yes. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the Puer Aeternus. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What aspects of the eternal child do you recognize in yourself? How have you worked to integrate these energies in your own life? Until next time, remember, growing up doesn't mean giving up on magic, it means learning to create it.